Well, actually, Elvis loved the song. That was when he and Priscilla were having their problems, which I met her recently, and she told me that Elvis loved that song, and he had sung that to her on the day of their divorce.
The legendary country star Dolly Parton has spent decades captivating audiences with her unforgettable voice and genuine warmth. But behind that radiant smile, there have been moments of tension, betrayal, and feuds that rarely made the headlines. Before diving into the stories of who ended up on her bad side, it helps to understand who Dolly really is and why she is not someone you want to cross. Born on January 19, 1946, in a tiny one-room cabin in Pittman Center, Tennessee, Dolly Parton was the fourth of 12 children in a poor but loving family. Her father, Lee Parton, was hardworking and smart with money, despite never learning to read or write, while her mother, Avi Lee, cared deeply for her children and filled their home with songs and stories from the Smoky Mountains. From a young age, Dolly showed musical talent. By the age of 10, she was performing on local radio and television. At 13, she recorded her first single and sang at the Grand Ole Opry, where she received a kiss on the cheek from Johnny Cash. After finishing high school in 1964, she moved to Nashville to chase her dreams. She began as a songwriter for other performers before stepping into the spotlight herself. Her first hit, Dumb Blonde, proved she was more than just another pretty face. She had wit, grit, and undeniable talent. In 1967, country star Porter Wagoner invited her to join his television show, giving her national exposure, and together they recorded a string of successful duets. But it was her solo career that truly set her apart. With heartfelt songs like Coat of Many Colors, inspired by a coat her mother lovingly stitched, and Joshua, a ballad about a lonely mountain man, Dolly Parton cemented herself as one of country music's most authentic and enduring voices. Her songwriting stood out because it told real stories from her own life with honesty and emotion. In the early 1970s, Dolly Parton's solo career began to soar, especially after the success of I Will Always Love You. She continued working tirelessly and delivered more unforgettable hits, including Jolene and Here You Come Again. That last one helped her cross into pop music, proving she could shine in more than one genre. But Dolly was never just a singer. She was a gifted actress too. In the 1980s, she starred in the hit movie 9 to 5 alongside Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. The theme song, written and performed by Dolly, became another chart-topping success. From that moment on, she showed the world she was more than a country star. She was a true entertainer who could sing, write, act, and connect with audiences everywhere. Her fame stretched far beyond music, and she kept finding new ways to grow and give back. In 1986, Dolly opened Dollywood, a theme park in her hometown of Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. Unlike many stars who spent fortunes on luxury, she chose to invest in her own community. Dollywood created jobs and boosted tourism in the Smoky Mountains, giving her hometown a lasting gift. Despite her global success, Dolly never forgot her roots. She launched the Imagination Library, a program that gives free books to children and encourages reading. Her journey was not only about talent but also about determination, generosity, and staying true to herself. Even with her achievements, she remained humble and focused on helping others. Over the years, Dolly Parton became more than a music icon. She became a beloved figure across the world. She has written thousands of songs, earned numerous Grammy Awards, and received a Lifetime Achievement Award. Her induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame proved that her influence reached far beyond country music. Known for her bright personality, she is also a sharp businesswoman who always thinks ahead. Major outlets recognized her impact. Time magazine named her one of the 100 most important people in the world, and the New York Times called her one of America's most beloved divas. She was even offered the Presidential Medal of Freedom 3 times but declined, choosing to avoid political ties. Her influence also shines through her philanthropy. The Imagination Library has distributed over 200 million books to children worldwide. In 2022, Jeff Bezos awarded her $100 million to donate to causes close to her heart. She has been honored by the American Library Association, named a Kentucky Colonel, and even had an asteroid named after her. Rolling Stone listed her among the 200 greatest singers of all time. The story of Dolly Parton is one of talent, hard work, kindness, and humility. Qualities that turned her into a legend not just in music, but in culture itself. Yet even someone as sweet as Dolly has limits. Over the years, a few names have come up again and again, people who doubted her, tried to control her, or attempted to take credit for her work. Dolly may smile in front of the cameras, but she never forgets. Behind the scenes, there were quiet battles, broken trust, and disappointments. One of the first and most complicated was with the man who helped launch her career, then tried to control it. The split between Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner became one of the most dramatic breakups in country music history. Before Dolly was a worldwide superstar, she was the newest voice on the Porter Wagoner Show, one of the biggest country music programs in America. By the late 1960s, Porter Wagoner was already a legend. Known for his rhinestone suits, big personality, and smooth voice, he wasn't just a singer, he was a showman. With millions watching his show every week, he had the power to launch careers. And when he discovered Dolly Parton, a young talent from East Tennessee, he immediately saw her potential. In 1967, Dolly joined his show, replacing Norma Jean, his former singing partner. At first, fans weren't sure. Some missed the old voice and weren't ready for this new girl with the big hair and bright smile. But Dolly never let the doubt stop her. She sang with passion, carried herself with grace, and soon won the audience over. Her charm, her humor, and her undeniable talent made people fall in love with her. On stage, she and Porter looked like the perfect pair. Their voices blended beautifully, their banter felt natural, and their chemistry made every performance shine. Together, they delivered over a dozen top 10 hits. Fans adored them as a duo, though they never claimed to be romantically involved. But while the music worked, the partnership behind the scenes became harder to manage. Porter came from an older era of country music, one where he expected to be in control. He believed he was guiding Dolly's success. But Dolly had dreams that stretched beyond his vision. She wanted freedom, not just to sing, but to grow as her own artist. As the years went on, she began writing songs that no longer fit neatly into the Porter and Dolly image. The more her star rose, the more she felt confined. What had once been a stage began to feel like a cage. Dolly respected what Porter had done for her, but she knew she couldn't stay forever. By 1973, the tension was impossible to ignore. And in 1974, Dolly made the most difficult choice of her career. She told Porter she had to leave the show. But she didn't just say it, she sang it. Sitting in his office, she performed a song she had written just for him, "I Will Always Love You." It was her way of saying thank you and goodbye in the same breath. The song moved Porter to tears. But as rocky as things were with Porter Wagoner, the next story in Dolly's life brought an entirely different kind of challenge. It was about a man who nearly took one of her most beloved songs. The story of Dolly Parton and Elvis Presley began in the early 1970s, connected by a single song, "I Will Always Love You." Elvis heard it and was deeply moved by its raw honesty and tender emotion. According to Dolly, he was so touched that he even sang it privately to his soon-to-be ex-wife Priscilla Presley during their divorce. That moment gave the song an even deeper meaning, proving how its me-22 sage of love and letting go could resonate with even the most famous hearts. For Dolly, knowing that Elvis Presley wanted to record her song felt almost unreal. She had grown up idolizing him. He was the king of rock and roll, larger than life, someone she had admired since childhood. To think that he not only loved her songwriting but wanted to make her song his own, it felt like the chance of a lifetime, a dream come true. What seemed like a dream with Elvis Presley quickly unraveled. Before any recording could happen, his manager, the infamous Colonel Tom Parker, stepped in with a demand that could not be ignored. Elvis would only record "I Will Always Love You" if he and Presley were given 50% of the publishing rights. This was standard practice for Parker, who often pressured songwriters into giving up ownership in exchange for the exposure of an Elvis recording. For many, that would have been the price of fame. But for Dolly Parton, it was a deal-breaker. At that time, she was still carving her place in the music industry, but she understood the importance of publishing rights. Holding onto her songs meant securing her future, not just as a performer, but as a songwriter and businesswoman, something few women in country music had achieved. Still, the decision tore her apart. Turning down Elvis felt almost unthinkable. Later, Dolly admitted she cried through the night, devastated that she had walked away from what seemed like the opportunity of a lifetime. But deep down, she may have sensed something more. Colonel Parker's reputation was no secret. Many in the industry saw him as manipulative, a man who always put his own interests first. Dolly, sharp and intuitive, likely knew that any deal involving him would carry consequences she was not willing to face. In the moment, it was heartbreaking. But in time, it proved to be one of the smartest decisions of her career. Nearly 20 years later, Whitney Houston recorded "I Will Always Love You" for the Bodyguard soundtrack. That version became a global phenomenon, breaking records and winning awards around the world. Because Dolly had kept full control of her publishing, she earned tens of millions of dollars in royalties. Money she never would have seen if she had signed over half the rights to Parker. The loss of an Elvis version became one of music's great what-ifs. What would it have sounded like? What legacy might it have carried? We will never know. But what we do know is this: by standing her ground, Dolly Parton turned heartbreak into triumph. The next chapter in her story involved another music legend, one who shocked Dolly and the world with a remark that no one saw coming. A woman who was supposed to be her friend. Dolly Parton and Linda Ronstadt. Both women were icons of their time. Dolly, the country star from Tennessee, full of wit, sparkle, and unstoppable energy. Linda, the folk rock powerhouse from Arizona, thoughtful, precise, and known for her deeply emotional voice. Alongside their close friend Emmylou Harris, they came together as trio, and their harmonies felt like magic. The first album was a massive success, leaving fans eager for more. But behind the curtain, working together wasn't easy. Dolly and Linda came from different worlds and had very different ways of creating music. Dolly liked to move fast. Her schedule was packed with songwriting, recording, acting, and business ventures. She would walk into the studio, record her part with confidence, and expect to move on. Linda, however, treated the studio like a laboratory. She wanted every detail to be perfect. If a single note felt off, she would record it again and again. She focused on timing, breath, and tone. To her, great art required patience. To Dolly, that felt slow and frustrating. She even joked once that Linda was a pain because of how picky she could be. From Linda's perspective, Dolly's laid-back style sometimes came across as careless. She disliked how Dolly would cancel sessions last minute, and she expected full commitment if they were to work together. It was a clash of instincts and styles. One woman moved with heart and intuition, the other with precision and control. As they began working on Trio 2, these differences widened the gap. The album kept getting delayed. Dolly wanted to push the release back further so it could be promoted properly. But Linda had already waited too long. She was tired of delays, disagreements, and endless waiting. In a move that surprised many, Linda Ronstadt took some of the songs from a joint project, removed Dolly Parton's vocals, and used them for her album Feels Like Home. This hurt Dolly deeply. To her, it felt like a betrayal. She had poured her time and voice into those songs, only to see them released without her. Dolly could not understand why Linda could not wait just a little longer. For Linda, it was simply about moving forward. She did not see it as personal, only practical. But for Dolly, who values loyalty and respect above all, it cut to the core. Over time, the gap between them grew wider. What once felt like an exciting collaboration began to feel like a burden. Later, Linda faced serious health struggles, including Parkinson's disease, which eventually took away her ability to sing. Although they never had a loud public fight, the tension between them never fully disappeared. Unlike Dolly's relationship with Porter Wagoner, which healed with time, her connection with Linda quietly faded away. Despite their disagreements, both women always held deep admiration for each other. Dolly often praised Linda, saying she had one of the most beautiful voices in the world. Linda, in turn, described Dolly as a force of nature when it came to songwriting and creativity. They both recognized that when their voices blended, they created something truly magical, something rare and unforgettable. Both were passionate artists with high standards, and that shared perfectionism sometimes created friction. Their creative approaches did not always align, leading to moments of tension. Yet beneath those differences was mutual respect and a shared desire to create something lasting. After that complicated partnership, another story emerged, this time involving Howard Stern. Howard Stern is well known for making shocking remarks on his radio show, often crossing the line for humor. His fans are used to that style. But in 2008, he said something about Dolly Parton that many felt went far too far. Dolly is loved not just for her singing and songwriting, but for her humor, humility, and kindness. She is known for her radiant smile and quick wit, often laughing even when teased. But when Stern targeted her disrespectfully, it truly hurt. At that time, Dolly had released an audiobook version of her memoir My Life and Other Unfinished Business, where she shared heartfelt stories about her life, career, and struggles. It was filled with honesty, wisdom, and Southern charm, the very qualities her fans adore. Yet Stern took clips from that audiobook, manipulated them with editing software, and created fake statements that made it sound as though Dolly was saying horribly racist things and insulting fellow artists, including her real-life friend Linda Ronstadt. Fans who knew Dolly immediately recognized it was fake, but it was still shocking and deeply upsetting. She had spent her entire life spreading kindness and lifting others up. She never used hateful language, and she certainly never insulted other musicians. To hear her voice twisted into something so ugly was heartbreaking. When Dolly found out, she was devastated. This time, she did not laugh it off or brush it aside as she so often does. She was truly hurt. In a rare moment of public anger, she released a strong statement. She said she had never felt so shocked, so hurt, and so embarrassed in her entire life. Dolly could not believe what Howard Stern had done to her. She added that she would never, in a million years, say anything so rude or inappropriate. She believed her voice had been manipulated to create something awful and offensive. To her, this was not a joke, it was an attack on her character, her values, and everything she stood for. She even warned, if there was ever going to be a lawsuit, it's going to be over this. That was a big statement from someone like Dolly, who rarely ever threatened legal action. Dolly Parton rarely threatened legal action, which showed just how serious this situation was for her. Howard Stern, however, did not seem to care much about her feelings. He brushed the whole thing off, calling it a parody and claiming it was meant to be funny, not taken seriously. On his show, he said, "It is an absurd bit. It is a parody, and it is funny as hell." He even added that he was honored Dolly knew who he was. But Dolly's fans were not laughing. Many believed Howard Stern had gone too far. Making jokes about celebrities was one thing, but faking hateful words and making it sound like Dolly said them felt cruel and unfair, especially since she is known for her kindness and sincerity. In the end, Dolly did not take legal action. Perhaps she did not want to keep the drama alive. Perhaps she thought it was not worth giving Stern more publicity. Most likely, she chose to take the high road, something she has always been known for. Still, even though she stayed quiet in public, it was clear she never truly forgot what happened. The idea of her ever speaking with Howard Stern again seemed almost impossible. To Stern, the whole thing was just satire. But to Dolly, it was personal and deeply hurtful. After the incident in 2008, the two did not speak again. Dolly never bashed him in interviews. She never went on talk shows to complain. Instead, she let her fans speak for her. Yet the memory of that moment stayed with people, resurfacing any time Stern and Dolly were mentioned in the same breath. Then, something unexpected happened. In 2023, Dolly surprised everyone by appearing on Howard Stern's show for the very first time. 15 years had passed since the scandal, and fans were stunned. Why did she go? She was promoting her bold new rock album, Rockstar. If there was ever a time to take a risk and reach new audiences, this was it. Surprisingly, Stern was respectful during the interview. He called Dolly a legend, praised her voice and energy, and kept his sarcasm under control. Still, the tension between them was hard to ignore. It seemed clear that if Dolly had not been promoting something so important, she probably would not have been there. Yet in true Dolly Parton fashion, she handled it with grace, maturity, and strength, turning an old wound into a quiet moment of power. Not long after, another surprising conflict made headlines. Jeff Tweedy, the lead singer of the band Wilco, stirred controversy when he made some sharp remarks about Dolly Parton's songwriting. While Jeff Tweedy admitted that Dolly Parton is a major figure in music history and has had an enormous impact, he claimed her lyrics were not very deep. He suggested her songs were more about being catchy than meaningful, and even went as far as to say she should have stopped after writing Jolene. Although he added that he did not dislike her, his words seemed to dismiss the heart and effort Dolly pours into her music. Because Tweedy is known for writing emotional and thoughtful songs, many were shocked that he would speak so critically about someone like Dolly. She did not respond publicly, but reports suggested she was not pleased with the remarks. Her music has always come from personal experiences and deep emotions, and she has taken pride in writing from the heart throughout her career. Hearing another artist question that must have stung, at least a little. Still, Dolly chose not to fight back. Instead, she let her long career and millions of fans speak for her. Her songs have stood the test of time, performed and loved by countless artists around the world. No matter what critics say, Dolly Parton's music continues to touch lives, and she remains one of the most respected and beloved figures in the history of music. Which of these feuds surprised you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories about your favorite stars.